So we'll move on. Oh, okay. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order of the San Mateo County Harbor District on April 3rd, 2024 at 10:03 a.m. And we're moving on to item 1, which is to introduce and review the agenda, which is basically the budget. So I don't think there's anything of interest or changes that have to be made, but I'm just welcoming the public as well. I don't know who's online, if any public members online.
Not at this time.
Okay, then we'll move to item 2, which is to review the draft preliminary fiscal year 2024-25 budget and capital improvement plan. So Julie, do you want to take it from here, which actually looks really good?
Actually, Rochelle is going to be presenting today, so. Rochelle.
Right, and so I will have a disclaimer that I will invite Julie or Jim to jump in at any time
Okay,
to help me out, but I will go ahead and start us off. So thank you, Virginia, for your meeting with us in March and the recommendations that you made to our budget. I think it really helped continue to polish the overall product. So I'm going to be happy to share that with you.
suggestions.
So I'm going to use the web version, and it really is the recommended version, I think.
Yeah.
As we've moved into this new product, the PDF is still fine, but I think the visual is
It's really
is
good.
nicer here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump over to the strategic plan. One of the updates since we last met is that Melanie.
What is that?
Let's see, that is under the second tab, budget overview, and then strategic plan.
Okay,
And I have it projected up here as well.
okay, I'm listening. I'm pulling
Okay.
this up on my phone. I actually read this on my computer at home, so. It's,
One of the updates, and this is minor, this is visual, is that we recreated the icons. We didn't have the native files before, so that they're cleaner and resized throughout the document. And then really pulling through the title of the goal and into the bold header. So before it used to just say goal number 1.
yeah,
And now we spelled that out.
yeah, which I think is very clear now,
Mhm.
which is great.
I like that too. Next tab over, and like I said, I'm not going to go through every item in the budget book, but I'll review just some of the budget highlights. We did go over those last month, but so I'm in fund summaries. And we, anticipate just a modest increase in revenue from 2024, both from operating and non-operating revenues. I think one of the biggest pieces that when you look at our expenditures, so I'm scrolling down to expenditures by type, just to point out that if you look down here, it says that we have an increase of 45.7% over last year. And what that really encompasses is some increases in consulting fees, but also our election costs
Right,
of an additional $900,000. And so that throws that percentage mark off and kind
Yeah.
of screams at you. And that's really what that item is about. And if you were wondering like, well, where are those, maybe those consultant fees, where can I see those? I would go over to the next tab to departments. Would click on the administration department, and that's where we can see by each of our 3 departments, administration, Oyster Point, and Pillar Point. Look at each of those department budgets. I'm going to scroll down to expenditures by expense type. See that for fiscal year 25 that our consultant fees, contract services have doubled, and really to kind of have a placeholder to pursue some funding options for search and rescue.
mhm.
That's what that placeholder was for. capital improvements, the next tab, 1-year plan. With the changes since March, we'll look at the Surfers Beach project. Pull that one up. Recommendation, I provided just a summary of the timeline and the description included our Director of Operations report that's really detailed on what's happened, and that is a supplemental attachment. And then we pulled through the icons that we use in our strategic plan and tied those to the strategic goal.
Yeah,
Kind of just some bells and whistles.
yeah, which is good.
For that kind of polished product. Is there anything else that you would like to dive into on this, or Julie, is there anything that I might be missing?
I don't think so. We went over what our assumptions were at the last meeting. We haven't changed any of those assumptions.
Right.
We haven't changed any of the numbers. We've just updated this to, again, look more polished, and it does look really good. Rochelle, thank you so much for doing that. And to Melanie also. We do have one hole that we're aware of right now, and that's the goals to, put some more detail on that and describe what we think we're gonna do by June 30th. So that will be part of our final budget. We'll be bringing the rates and fee schedules for the board to review.
Yeah.
And so we're using the assumptions that we are going to increase all the rates and fees by the CPI again this year. So that might be a discussion whether the board wants to pursue those kinds of increases, and we can adjust the budget, the final budget numbers accordingly if that's not the case. We will be having a presenter at the April meeting for investment options and to describe what's going on in the markets right now.
And who is that? Did you get a hold of? Oh God, who was it?
Can't
It's not
remember their
Kim.
names.
What was it? I know.
Class.
Class,
Class,
yeah. It's the other
yes.
one similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were at the CSDA. Weren't they? I think they were at the CSDA conference, right? In Monterey. Yeah. Okay, good.
And so we might adjust some of our estimates based on that. The other thing that's kind of outstanding is we've not had communications with the treasurers or the assessor's office to try to get, a more accurate number on property taxes. We did find online that there was a report that was indicating to the press that they were increasing their tax rolls by 7.7%. So that's
Yeah.
what we're using now, but that's kind of a placeholder because we haven't been able to get information directly from them at this point.
So that would probably be the assessor's office, right?
Right.
And then, okay, so, I should have brought this in, and I'll bring it in at the meeting, or I can send it to you, because I'm on the Treasurer's Oversight Committee.
Okay.
So they had some information. It's actually sitting in my car right now, but, the fire district, we just had a finance committee meeting yesterday, and so that they were looking at that same growth, the property tax increase. That they've, so it's the same, we're kind of all on the same page, it sounds like,
Okay.
which is a
That's
good place, yeah, yeah. So let me find out let me see what the treasurer's oversight, I literally have this in my car, Julie. What they put down there for the tax number increase.
Okay.
That dollar
That would be
amount.
helpful. We'll continue to try to contact them. They usually send us a letter around May, beginning of June sometime, indicating to all of the different agencies the expected property tax numbers. So,
The fire district got one, so you should be getting that.
Yeah,
Because we just had a meeting yesterday about it. Okay.
we'll continue to try.
I think this looks really good. So for the board meeting, right? What do we want to, I mean, we're gonna present this, but you should point out all of the changes, especially that one part that we used from John's report
Okay.
about the,
Capital projects.
yeah, and the timeline, that kind of thing. Because it sounds like from yesterday's meeting, in Supervisor Mueller's office here, that there are other holdups, right? And so I think it's important for the public to know that the holdup isn't with the harbor district, and we're doing everything that we can humanly possible. I mean, I know that Jim's written letters about the dredging and other things, right? And it's just, I don't know, it just seems like the holdup, we get blamed for the holdup. And it doesn't help that before, there were issues that the harbor district could rightfully be blamed for, but we're now past that time, and you just can't blame the agency because there's a holdup somewhere else. So I would definitely highlight that. And I think we should be highlighting that. And not that we're trying to assign blame, but that our staff is doing a great job at trying to get the work done. And we've done everything again humanly possible to get the work done. And, maybe and this doesn't mean that, we're looking for, a parcel tax or whatever. It just shows that there has to be efficiencies, but we're doing our part to be efficient. I mean, I don't know, Jim, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a good thing to highlight in the budget and the capital improvement project, because we've been saying the same thing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Expecting the permit to get issued, and it doesn't.
And we're not insane
And-
by asking for the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I mean, the public's entitled to a different result.
Well, it's not only for the public, for our staff itself
Mhm.
to understand, why aren't we starting this?
Right. And
So
the costs continue to go up as
They do.
time continues to go on.
inflation does hit us pretty hard.
Mhm.
I have two comments on the budget, preliminary budget presented today. The 48% increase in expenditures,
The 45?
or was it 45? That's, as you guys said, it was glaring, kind of jumps out at you. Is there a way we can highlight why it's jumped that much in 1 year? That's
But that's because of the election, right?
correct. It is not, as opposed to putting it into a long paragraph explaining our expenditures. I just want kind of like an asterisk, or why did it jump that so much this year? I don't know if that's possible. The other thing I'd like to see is on the capital improvement plan button on each one of the pages that you can link back to the budget line item that
Oh,
supports it,
Yeah, if that's possible.
if that's possible.
But I think that, so you brought up can I go back to and piggyback on your comment, Jim, about the 45% increase? I agree with you. And so I think that, I mean, if you had to prioritize, I would definitely put that in there, because everyone, I was gonna say that the elections are every 2 years, right? So every 2 years, we're probably gonna have a higher expenses than our normal non-election years. So we should probably, I think you're right, but maybe put a little asterisk. But I was gonna mention that, but it's like, I think people do know that we have elections, but maybe not. I mean, in the budget document, it'll look significantly different, right?
I believe every 2 years, people are shocked that we're spending close to $1 million for elections.
So if we did, the asterisk, it's like a little asterisk explanation, we should also highlight the fact that these are the costs from the county elections office. And that this is not something that the Harbor District gets to pick, in terms of the cost. These are the costs that are basically passed down from the county elections office and probably from the state and so on and so on. But it's not that like the Harbor District gets to choose the cost.
Well, that was the one thing we kind of really struggled with when we were implementing the system versus, if you remember, the presentation before is biennial and capital project expenses were at a line item below. They couldn't figure out a way to do that for us and still show it in the departmental budgets. So what we've done instead is we said, okay, we'll just explain the election costs each year as a big variance. And then the capital expenditures are in a table that we've created so that it doesn't have graphs that can never show a trend, because
Oh,
capital expenditures, they fluctuate by
Yeah.
millions of dollars. And it would, not really be useful information anymore if that was included in those graphs. I think that this product is looking at ways where you can pick and choose which accounts you want to include, but that might be in a future budget
Yeah.
cycle.
is their technology or their system or this product
Right.
program, yeah, gets enhanced.
Right, exactly, yes. And so going back to the button
The
theory,
linking,
linking.
yeah.
I don't know if it can link, but we can look into, can we put a link to a page previously in the budget? Potentially like a hyperlink kind of thing?
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that.
And I wasn't sure, Jen, if this is kind of what you were thinking around in the capital projects, if this is enough of a budget description that you were hoping for.
What project is that?
But this one is Surfer's Beach.
Okay. That's exactly what I'm looking for. What I want to be, because we have what, $76 million of outstanding projects. We have those projects in our budget. What I want to know is there actual money behind that project? Or is it just a project that we have on our books that has no money? Last night I attended a public meeting on a road and talked about all kinds of different scenarios, but the last bottom line was funding yet to be identified. Well, plans without fundings are,
They're just
they're
plans.
just plans. So I would like to know, be able to click on a project and say, yeah, that we're green, this project is fully funded and permitted, or fully funded and pending permitting.
Are you like what the status of the project is?
Yeah, I'm just, the status of the project, but
Yeah.
really it's the funding that drives it, because if there's no funding, the project's just an idea. And I want to be able to show that. And again, it'll probably be part of the strategic plan again, but and it is part of the strategic plan now, but moving projects forward. Where are we on all these great projects? And several people have come up to me and said they're surprised on all the different projects we are getting done.
Yesterday at the meeting?
No, not yesterday, but over the last year with the ADA restroom, with Surfers Beach, West Trail, the pier, the harbor master's office, and soon the dredge project. So really went decades without getting things done, and now we're really doing it. I was close, 81,000 or 81 million. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is when a project pops up on the screen, great. Is there a way we can click and it takes you right to the funding source of that project?
Yes. So when you're at capital improvements and you go to the multi-year plan, that covers all the projects that we have pulled forward to execute. And so with this summary, I'll show you all of, what is funded, what is not funded. as an overall picture, but then we can go down here to the individual projects. And then pick one where I know that there are some unfunded options, and we can scroll down on that project. How much of that project is out of working capital and how much is not funded? Each of our projects.
Okay. Just don't want this to be so complicated that you need a PhD to find that spreadsheet. Very, very easy for people to see what we're doing.
I agree with that. I think this looks good.
Oh, you've done a fantastic job.
Yeah. I think that, if there's any way to add explanations, even if they're like little asterisk, I mean, I don't think you need it for this. I don't know. Why don't we have the board look at this, Jim? If we pass it on to the board and get their feedback too, because we've gotten feedback from previous years about, oh, we need more graphics and we need to, I think it's a really good balance, and let's just see what, because they're going to be reading this really for the first time, right? If they read the whole thing at all. And so if they don't read the whole, if other commissioners don't read the whole thing and they go down to the relevant areas, how easy is it for them to comprehend it? Maybe that's the test, because we still have another look-see for this, right, before we adopt it.
We'll adopt the preliminary budget at the April meeting
Yeah.
and then the final budget at the June.
In June,
meeting.
yeah, but they can still give feedback.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
that. So that, I mean, I don't know, what do you think, Jim?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In the
Sometimes-
description, we could put like the first paragraph in the description. Design and engineering of X dollars is funded. Construction costs of X dollars is not funded, so it's right in the beginning verbiage
Funding
part.
required.
Yeah, it's.
Funding needed.
Or something to that
Or
effect.
outstanding or some, yeah, something.
I just like to be able to tie that number together, so when we change it on one screen, it changes there also.
Yeah.
Because now we have to worry about, is this number correct according to the budget? Because this is gonna be a manual entry as opposed to a running a total, but whatever's easiest for us to get to do is and easiest into the future, I would like to see happen, but.
Okay.
John's
I mean, I think
here
that's a
is-
good suggestion. I just don't, does it even have the capabilities to do that?
That's what we have to look into. I mean, there are some limitations.
For right now. But to your first point, Jim, about the expense costs increase of 45%, I think the asterisk explanation can handle that. And I mean, it could be estimated costs from San Mateo
That's
County
exa-
Elections Office.
Those numbers that are outside the norm is
Yeah,
what grabbed my attention, and I'm sure it grabs other people,
yeah.
so.
Okay, so then are we done with this item? Because then we can basically go on to the last item, which is to forward this to the board, which is the same thing that.
Just, we're looking for your recommendation on, want to see this again before it goes before, or do you?
No, I think.
Your
it should
recommendation
go
is to
the
forward
board.
it
I
to the
think,
board.
yeah, I think we should forward this to the board. I think it's really great. So thank you for all the work. I think the board should see that and they can give their own comments if they have any. I mean, because we're so close to it. Y'all are really close to this document more than Jim and I are. So, you know, I think if some new eyes on it for any kind of,
I kind of know the numbers.
yeah, be kind, you think, Jim? But I think just a new look a fresh look from people who have not seen this, because I think they're gonna be impressed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rochelle. Thank you.
No, it's awesome.
It's great. Okay, any public comment? with This, you have any? I don't see any either. Okay, then I guess we'll adjourn the meeting at 10:28.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thanks for,
Thanks.
we're done now.